evening and welcome to We the People. 24 Jawans killed in Silda, the next day 12 villages in Bihar. Yet there appears to be no political or public consensus on how best to approach the Maoist challenge. The Home Minister, Mr. Chidambaram, has reiterated his dare to intellectuals and activists to stop sitting on the fence and take a position on Maoist violence. But is the heart of the problem really an ideological battle? Is it intellectual legitimacy to the Maoist cause that's the real obstruction to the government's anti-Naxal offensive? Or is there an absence of political consensus as well? Should the approach be solely military or does it need to be political as well? These are some of the questions we're raising on our program. Before I come to the politicians, of course, as always, you can post your comments on our webpage. That's wethepeople.com. You can log on to our website and leave your comments there. You can also tweet your comments, and we run your tweets through the length of this program. My Twitter handles @BeThat. So like I said, before I come to the politicians, I want to actually start with Nandini Sundar. Nandini, the reason I want to start with you is that it's now become a familiar pattern that every time there is a strike by the Maoists, and this time we've seen a strike on civilians as well, not just soldiers, there is a kind of ideological battle being played out between the government and activists like yourself, where the allegation is you're not condemning the violence. Do you see this as a genuine problem, that the discourse has got polarized by this paradigm of not Maoists versus the government, but intellectuals versus the government?
I think this is a serious problem because I have always condemned Maoist violence. I have never had any hesitation in condemning it, and I think the strikes on the Jawans and on the villagers in Bihar is terrible. And I think Mr. Chidambaram is completely wrong to keep blaming us. I mean, we are not the problem. We have been saying that both sides should talk peace. We've been repeatedly saying that, there has to be a solution because it's in the interests of the citizens of this country to have peace. And in fact, the latest to add to the people who Mr. Chidambaram has said support or provide intellectual is the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has said that because the Chhattisgarh government has not done anything, they have asked us as petitioners to draw up a rehabilitation and compensation plan. Because for the last 2 years, the government of Chhattisgarh has just done nothing despite promising the court that they would resettle all the people that they have made refugees.
But the Supreme Court also said in that same observation that a policeman posted in these areas is marked for death.
No, actually it was not. The order was on the 18th and the Supreme Court, that's an observation that they may have made in court in another case, but in our case, they have said that we draw up the rehabilitation plan. They have said that the Chhattisgarh government claimed that schools had been vacated of security forces, which is a lie, but they have to do it if they haven't, since they haven't done it so far. So we've got a very, very positive order, and the Supreme Court understands that people have to be made the center of the whole discussion. And it can't be just about Maoists and Chidambaram saying that, intellectuals are the problem. And I'm really grateful to the court for understanding this. I think it's a great step forward.
Yet the court is also, as you said, saying in another judgment that there isn't enough attention paid to a hapless police officer who's often ill-equipped, who doesn't have the wherewithal to take on a Maoist challenge. Prasanjit, if I can get you, interestingly, we're now seeing the West Bengal government making much of the same sort of accusation that Mr. Chidambaram is making, which is that there's a problem with eulogizing the violence, that the condemnation is qualified by ifs and buts. Yet Nandini Sundar just came out and said, look, I do condemn it. So why have we got caught up in this sort of debate over whether there is enough public condemnation?
No, I think that the concern vis-a-vis intellectuals like Nandini Sundar is completely misplaced. I mean, we have no issues with what the cause that she fights for or others like her fights for. And I think that the Salva Junum experiment in Chhattisgarh is an ori. It should not have happened and it should be wound up. Our party is on record demanding that. In the campaign against Maoists, human rights violation cannot be tolerated. That is not the issue. But I think Mr. Chidambaram is wrong. He is trying to divert the entire issue into a lack of intellectual consensus. I think intellectual consensus is really not the issue. The real issue is within his own cabinet, there is a political force which is not part of the consensus.
You mean Mamata Banerjee?
Yes, I mean if you want to drag the debate in that direction, yes.
Tuba.com